Good morning. We're about to get started here. I've actually got the chat up this time. Well, it's about that time. The Rutledge Reflected Radio Show coming your way this morning at 10 a.m. Central from the historic KCOH TV radio station, The Booth. We are coming to you live. It's time for the Rutledge Reflected Radio Show live here on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost in Houston, Texas. And I'm your host, Laurel Rutledge, and I cannot wait for the show to start because spending Tuesday mornings with you is a highlight of my week. And if you're listening or watching on one of my pages, be sure to give StreamYard permission so I can see your name and I can see your comments. And let me know where you're tuning in from so I can give you a shout out on the air. I know we have a global audience, and I want to acknowledge you for taking the time to listen to me, for those of you in my time zone, and for those of you who are way out of it. I also want to welcome your questions and your comments. Now, I got to run so I can get ready. See you soon. Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday morning. It is the 18th of October. I had to check real quick. We are 3 weeks away from Election Day, y'all. So we're going to be talking about that here at the end of the show. Some things we all need to be prepared to do and prepared for, among some other things. But today, we're going to be talking about the impact of your environment on your mindset, on your alignment, all this kind of stuff. And I was just telling Jerry about that this morning when I walked in. She's like, oh, look, I was just talking about that. So me and Jerry are going to talk about this morning. So just a little tale. So this is a cautionary tale. Just a little tale. So I, way early in the year, decided to go back on the retreat that I went to last year, the Living Your Light Boot Camp Retreat. So the person who runs it, her name is Rebecca M. Thompson. She is an incredible political strategist, but she's also running a group and a boot camp for high achieving Black women. And she's very intentional that's who she works with. She's very clear that's who she works with. And it's small. It's a small group. And this year, when I went on her inaugural one. So last year was the inaugural one. This year was the second year and a different group of people. And this year, she and her sister actually co-led it. She has a twin sister. They grew up in Detroit and actually had a producer. They were singers, all this kind of stuff. I mean, just really, just incredible people. And so I decided very early in the year that I wanted to go. Well, actually last year, I was like, when you get ready to do it again, I want to save my spot. So when it came up, I said, yes, I'm going. And then as it got closer and closer, I'm like, man, I've got so much stuff to do. I don't know. Does this make sense? I don't. But I said, no, I'm going to go. One, I paid for it, but no, I need to go. I need a change of scenery. And so I went. It was a very powerful session. Met some really incredible women. Again, of course, some incredible women. And came back on Sunday. And the minute I got back, like into Houston, in my house, it's like all the stress, all the stuff, it just came flooding back. And yesterday, as I was talking to my therapist about a bunch of stuff, and then I got some things done the rest of the day, I thought, man, you know, it just feels really heavy in my house. It feels really heavy. Here's the thing. You know, we've been in a pandemic for 2 years. We've been at home for 2 years. And for those of us who are entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, you've been spending a lot of time by yourself. Now, I'm an introvert and an empath, so it really didn't hit me bad until maybe 18 months in or so. And I was like, you know what? I need to get out of my house too. I was so okay with being in my house and not having to go out and not having to interact, you know, a lot, because it just takes a lot of my energy, at least when it's not purposeful and intentional, right? Just being out to be out is not my thing. And so I knew it was bad for my little extrovert friends when I got to the point where I'm like, I gotta get out of my house. But here's the lesson. I left a retreat with some extreme clarity, because I told you guys I'm in this business accelerator. And so this retreat gave me a chance to do some more stuff there, because I've regrouped in this accelerator. I got sick, not COVID, but I got sick, so that put me behind. It was just all kinds of stuff. And so I basically started the whole thing over. It's weekly things. I started the whole thing over and really got clear took that opportunity to really use this time in Mexico to solidify some things. And the lesson is this: so much of our mindset, our ability to stay aligned, right? Y'all hear me? Alignment, vision, action. That's the thing. Get aligned. Get really, really activated in your alignment. Get really, really clear on your vision, and then move into empowered action, because a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? Take some action. So you have to start with that alignment and the understanding where you are so you can move and do those other things. But your environment has a significant impact on not only your alignment, but your energy level, your clarity, your action, all of that kind of stuff. Now, we know that it's not unusual for that to be the case. And it's not like, oh, Laurel had this earth-shattering, revelation. Oh my gosh, your environment matters. What was revealing was, through this pandemic, with us spending so much time in these spaces, it is not unusual to have just now realized how big the impact is. So for me to have left Cancun, so we were at the Secrets Resort, which was phenomenal. The food was great. The service was impeccable. It was one of those places, right, where you can buy a membership and all that, which is not what we did, but it was incredible. To leave that space with the ocean, with the sun, with great food, with peace, being surrounded by people who are really trying to make an impact, and to come back to your home. And your home is supposed to be peaceful. Your home is supposed to be the place where you gather energy and you do reconnect and you're able to really get grounded. So to come back to your home and be like, wait, what? Wait. I had all this peace, all this clear, all this energy, and now the minute my feet hit the ground, I'm like, ugh. There is power in your environment. I talk a lot about cluttered desk, cluttered mind, cluttered house, cluttered mind. I feel so much better when my space is clear, right? When there's all the clutter's gone, when I see empty space. I mean, I took time a while ago and redid my office. Well, not redid, but cleaned up my office, got rid of a bunch of paper, shredded a bunch of stuff, got rid of a bunch of bins, just got stuff out of the space. So there's open space. And when there's open space, it's like I get to breathe. That's what's so wonderful about being outside. But if you are not careful, there will be feelings, sentiments, habits tied to your everyday environment that will sneak up on you before you even know it, right? I worked out every day while I was on this vacation. Got up every morning early, worked out. Well, one day I actually worked out 2 days. I worked out in the afternoon. I actually worked out when I landed, right? Landed, got to the resort, put my stuff down, changed my clothes, went to work out. Because I'm on a mission to get back to where I'm supposed to be and then even further. And, that energy that I needed was just so incredible. It was just there. And then I get home and the bed, y'all, I was going to get up. So that was Thursday night. Got there Thursday night, worked out. Was going to get up Friday morning, was just the start of the session. We started at 9. So I was like, no problem. I'll get up early. I'm up at 4 anyway. So I can get up at 6 and go work out and still be in time. Honey, 6 o'clock ran around and that bed was so good. And the comforter, it was like a weighted blanket, right? I don't think it was an intentional weighted blanket, but it was so heavy. It was like being in a cocoon. I was like, I am going to lay right here and I will take the afternoon break and do my workout. So I get home and I walk into my space, which I am so grateful, right? Now, I know this isn't my forever home, but I'm so grateful. It's been a blessing. So I don't want anyone to hear what I'm saying thinking as a lack of gratitude. I am so grateful. And I walked into that space, into my house. And even as I drove down the street, I'm like, more trash blowing up in my yard. Noise, folks with the loud radios and the rice burner cars. thank goodness, my gate's working, the garage is working. I get into my garage, looking at my backyard. It's okay. All my stuff is there, but some of my plants are dead, and that frustrated me. Get in my house, and it's clean because I left it clean, because there's nothing like walking into a dirty house. And just didn't, I just something, the minute I opened the door, just like this weight. Didn't sleep as well, all that stuff. And I realized that I think some of us don't recognize, and that we have to be mindful of and cognizant of, is that the things we experience, they tell you smells can trigger memories, right? Smells can trigger memories, taste can trigger memories, but smells are really big. I don't think we realize the habits and the memories and the feelings that get like into our spaces. So even if you're not consciously thinking of it, when you sit on your couch, when you watch your TV, when you go grab that drink, when you do the things that are habitual for you in your space, all of the stuff that's habitual for you in your space comes up. All of it. Not just the good stuff. All the things. All the feelings. When you look at the dress that you can't wear anymore, when you look at the shoes that aren't working, when you look at whatever it is, right? The cabinet that's off kilter, the foundation you need to get leveled because you see another crack in the wall, the door that doesn't open the way you wanted it to open, all the things, right? You walk into your space and your environment can actually send and trigger messages and narratives that send you to a different space emotionally and mentally. It's one of the reasons why it's so important to change it up every once in a while, to get out, to go do something different, to go see something different. Even those folks who work at home will have a space that they go sit at a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, go do something else. And you're still working, but you're in a different environment. The things around you look and feel different. Because I think what we don't realize is that all that head trash is not just internal, but it can be tied to external stimulus. Those things that your brain subconsciously is connecting that you're not even thinking about, right? You go in, you see the bowl, but the bowl is tied to a memory, and the memory is tied to a feeling, and all of a sudden that bowl is making you irritated. That didn't have anything to do with that bowl. That bowl didn't do anything to you. Right? But there's something that it's tied to that keeps you from staying in that space that was open and positive and moving and in your genius, right? In the zone. If you get back to your home or to your office or to your space and you feel like you're completely out of the zone, you're out of your element, something isn't working, change it up. Change it up. Something has gotten off kilter. And we often don't tie that lack of alignment or that lack of energy to the space that's supposed to be the space that gives us energy. And when I walked in and I told Jerry, I'm like, I'm going to be talking about kind of this environment and mindset. And I was in Mexico and all this stuff. She's like, oh, this is like divine intervention, right? I've been talking about the same thing. Mm-hmm. So Jerry, for you, because we talk about a lot, you're a water baby, right? You love being around the water. Absolutely. And I was just in Mexico and I did go see the beach. I didn't sit at the beach, but I did go see the water, right? And because I had other stuff. I don't know. I like being out in the sun, but I don't know. I just didn't. But when I came in and I said, it's that environment thing. The environment makes a difference. Sometimes you got to change it. What was it when you said, yeah, wait, you just preaching. What was it for you when I said that came up?
Because I was sitting here and I said, ugh. And then I had started, when I walked in the door, I lit my candle and put my little blessed oil around there like I always do. And when I looked at the window and we've got the window broken and somebody's supposed to come out and fix it and then they didn't and this didn't happen. I don't like to look at broken stuff. It just irritates me. And I try to keep on being perky or whatever. But when you leave your home and you make sure your home is taken care of, you want to come back to your space because your workspace becomes the space that you spend a lot of time on, and you want that to happen too. So I have to change it up sometimes. Sometimes I just have to get out by the water or whatever, because there are places that can pull your energy down.
Yes.
And for me, it's places that something is broken. I hate to look at broken stuff.
Yes.
And I hate to look at dead plants. And when you said that,
yes.
I thought about my plants. Of course, they're seasonal. They're summer plants, and
mm-hmm.
they're dying. And I'm saying, I got to pull these up because I hate to have dead stuff around me. So it's little things that we have to do in order to keep our mental mind. And so when you walked in and said that, I said that. I just said that. I didn't say it on the air.
Yeah.
I said, this, I'm going to change this.
Right.
I don't know what I'm putting this window until it gets fixed, but I can't stand looking at this.
Yes.
And when you said a change of scenery, that's what it is for me.
It is, and it's funny that you say that having things that are dead around you or broken around you, I have got to get my foundation settled. I've got to get it re-leveled because I walked into my one of my guest bedrooms and, I had some family in not too long ago and that I think they left on a Sunday. And that Sunday I got up, I washed sheets for every bed. I remade every bed. I just got it done. Now, when they left, they had made up the beds and everything. I'm like, don't take the sheets off. They made up the beds. Everything was clean. So I clearly could have just left all of that done. It wasn't like it was messy, but I took everything off. I cleaned it all. There was something about getting it all clean and ready that made me feel better. And then as I walked in from Mexico or got ready I was packing for Mexico actually. And I'd had an issue with my garage and they came in and fixed my garage. And as I'm opening and closing my front door, now my front door has been a hot mess. It's like it wouldn't like it latches. Don't get me wrong, so don't nobody try to come break in my house. My door latches, but it wasn't as tight as I like it to. Well, the other day I got ready to open my door, barely could get the door open. It's like it's gotten so tight with the weather and with the foundation. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get out of my own front door, right? And then I go in my room and I'm packing and I look up at the corner and the whole corner, because for those of you who are in Houston, you know this. For those of you who are not in Houston, because we have such a high water table, right? The ground is so wet and then it'll get really dry and crack. And what happens is your foundation shift. We don't have basements. Your foundation will shift and it causes cracks, right, in your walls. Doors don't close, closet, all that kind of stuff. And so I've been finding cracks in my walls. And of course I have I have an arch, and arches never stay done. I'm going to take that sucker out and just give me straight walls because those arches getting cracked is going to make me crazy. But I noticed a crack in the corner, right? And I'm thinking, Laurel, you just got to get this done because, to Jerry's point, those imperfections make me crazy. They make me crazy. And I start thinking about it. And what happens, if you think about when I said your environment impacts your alignment, it impacts your mindset. You see all these things that are imperfect. And when one thing isn't perfect, then you write off the whole thing. Well, I got all these cracks in my walls. I'm just not gonna worry about it. I don't need to clean. I don't need to dust. I don't need to, because it's not, doesn't matter what I do, it's not going to be perfect. Perfection is a killer. I had a coach that used to say the P in perfection stands for poison, right? It's a killer because you allow that space, that environment that has some things in it that just aren't working for you to just invade your whole spirit and keep you from doing other stuff. You just let it take you completely off your game. Right? As Jerry said, she doesn't like all that dead stuff around her. She's got to start pulling it up.
But see, the difference is I can pull it up because that's my space.
Yes. Exactly.
When you're in partnership with other people, then you have to go on other people's timing.
Yes.
And so there's the only difference. I'm not going to just yank up stuff around here. I don't know this joke. I'm not going to pull up somebody else's stuff. But, that's your half. I can't pull this half. But when it's your own and it's all your own, then you're able to do it. And when you said something, it made me, and you probably may know this song and you probably won't. It was a rap song, said the part didn't start that I walked in, probably won't end until the thing ended. In the meantime, you work your thing and I work mine. Do you believe that we are the environment that we walk into, even if we walk into a messy environment? Because the first thing you said when you walked in, you said, it smells good in here. I said, girl, I had to get some oil and a candle and light this candle up because my mood was in the switch looking at this window look like that.
Yes.
So I had to recreate an environment to help me make it through because I don't like looking at broken stuff.
Yes.
And it's no fault of ours. It's the company that came out here that ripped us off.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, do you believe that we become the environment?
I don't know that we become the environment, but I think we have an impact on the environment. I think we all have energy, right? And we get to decide what energy we're bringing.
Right.
And so, like for you, it's candles, and I love some good candles. For me, it's music. When my mood is funky, I have to pull out my music, my playlists, right? It may be Fred Hammond. It may be Bonnie Raitt. It may be B.B. King. It may be Ludacris.
Betty Wright.
It may be, who knows what it is. It may be the latest salsa music, right? One of my favorite songs is Loco Pero Feliz, right? I'm crazy, but I'm happy. There are all kinds of things in music for me that, what they say, music soothes the savage beast. When I am in a spot, I put on music because there's something about it that really calms my nerves. So that environmental piece, we can be impacted by our environment, but we can respond with our own energy. So I think we react to the environments that we're in, and we can take action to impact our environments, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, sometimes we are somebody else's environment. What we create in our home, and people come to our homes, we're creating that environment for somebody else. Right? So you can be somebody else's environment, good or bad. And I think about that, like right now, with a lot of companies trying to, are we bringing people back? Or are we not bringing people back? Are we kind of bringing people back, or is it remote? Is it hybrid? You know, what are we doing? And office spaces, you know, there was this whole movement for the long time to open office space. We need open spaces because it's more collaborative. If you need open spaces, open spaces, open. I hate a cubicle. Hate a cubicle. Don't give me a cubicle. I'll just work at home. I hate them. Hate them, hate them, hate them. And the first one I saw was about 5 years ago. They actually went back to some of those creative spaces, and what they found was, in many instances, those open environments were actually worse for creativity and collaboration. Why? Because there was no quiet time. It's not quiet. Because remember, when you first did cubicles, you can't put in your earbuds. You can't have on earphones. People think you're not working. They think you know, especially creative environments. Yes, people want to get together. They want to collaborate. They want to have those big rooms with the big whiteboards. But then sometimes people need that quiet, separate space to actually get work done. And the environment was not conducive to solitude and quiet, right? And private. It was not conducive to that. And I hate it. I just hate it. I remember at my old company going up in New Jersey, they redid all these offices in New Jersey, and it was the big thing. Not only was it all cubes, like executives, everything was cubes, but they were all open, like low wall cubes. Not even a high wall. Everything was low. Everything. And every conference room was glass. Every conference room was glass. Now it had like the frosted glass, like right around the middle, right? So that was what they called privacy. I'm thinking to myself, if I have to have a really focused conversation, a performance level conversation, or a confidential conversation with somebody, why am I going to take them into this office with all this glass? What if they're really emotional about it? What if I'm emotional about it? Where do we honor people's privacy in all these open spaces, right? That's insanity. Now, I get wanting collaboration, but come on. And so when we talk about setting up environments and environments impacting mindset, if no one ever has space to just think, to be quiet, to move away, because not everyone is an extrovert. And even extroverts sometimes need a minute. They just need a minute, right? Because they're just because they're extroverted doesn't mean they want to hang out with everybody. Right? Some people, everybody has a limit. And so the environments we create, work and otherwise, impact how we are aligned with who we are, how we show up, how we engage, what happens with and to and through our energy. And then that impacts our clarity and our action. Right? So as Jerry said, you can't necessarily pull up everybody else's stuff, but you can sure keep your place in a way that makes sense for you. You know, I'm looking at my garden now, and it gets back to that same thing I said, right? One thing doesn't work and you just want to yank it all up. It doesn't look right, you just want to start all over. Now, in some cases, I am going to start all over because I've got something that is eating all my stuff. It's really weird. So I'm throwing out all the soil. I'm truly am starting over with all my peppers because every time I come back, something had eaten. Like there's not a leaf left on a stem. So I don't know if it's a caterpillar. I don't know if it's a moth. I don't know if it's a squirrel, but they haven't been digging around. So squirrels usually leave lots of damage and evidence. This thing isn't leaving any evidence. So I'm really thinking it's something else. So we're going to start all over, right? And probably have to go back to screens. Jerry was laughing at me because I got screen. I was screening stuff. But that environment, right, if we're not careful, one thing will make us toss everything out. That's perfectionism at its finest, right? That's kind of nervous system response at its finest. And for me, I've always found it's almost like they call it self-soothing, right? When you see people that rock, I used to do that in undergrad. When you see people that stand and they can't stay still, right? They're rocking. That's a level of that's a kind of self-soothing. You know, you find that a lot in people who have really sensitive nervous systems, right? Or folks who have autism, a lot of times the noise is too much. There's actually a commercial with someone who is high performing but autistic, and she talks about the headphones and how to give people an understanding of why you see people with headphones and not to make fun of them. They're not just listening to music, but the noise is really painful for them. So there's a level of self-soothing that happens. I found that for me, when my anxiety gets really, really high, like I've got way too much nervous energy, my level of self-soothing tends to be exercise, and it tends to be sometimes I have to be very careful because I will hurt myself, right? I'll go and do a row, and I'm rowing like for 45 minutes at like, 2.2. That's insane. And the next day I can't walk, right? Or like when I went to Cancun, that first day I had so much energy when I landed off the plane. There was so much in my brain that I couldn't slow down. I put on my music, I put in my earbuds, I got on a treadmill, and I could not walk fast enough. It's like my body needed to move faster. And so I started jogging. And I very rarely jog because I got such bad knees and it just hurts. But I was running. Now, the rest of the days I was walking because my body was like, you have lost your mind, right? What did you think you were doing? But I needed to get out of my environment. I needed something to shake it up, and I needed some way to dissipate this energy. And what happens if we're not careful in our environments that change us up, right? We got so much energy. We're so excited. We're so focused. And then we walk back into our place that's supposed to be at peace, and all of a sudden it's jacked up, right? We got dead plants, or we got cracks in the walls, and it takes us completely out of where we're supposed to be. It is easy in that moment to go immediately to dorsal. We've talked about that polyvagal, right? That immediately to forget it. I'm just done. I'm not going to do anything. Nothing's going to work. I just never mind. It's easy to get there when you get really frustrated. And this is where you have to have those mechanisms, right? Let me do all the laundry, and I'm going to redo all the beds, and that's the smell I'm going to love. It's going to smell fresh and clean. Let me just do that. And then once you do the one thing, you leave space for everything else.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Are you ever just chill? Do you ever, because you seem to me, and I'm not being a therapist.
Oh, no.
But I'm going to school for it.
Right.
But do you seem to me like a high performance type person? Like you really have to nail it every time. Do you just ever Laurel is just chilling and she's at peace? Because when you said you left one environment and then you felt funny in the next environment, were you the environment though? Because you said your anxiety picks up. So is it something internal or is it something around you?
It's for me, it's a combination of both. Remember, I have a really messy mind, right? I'm thinking and talking and moving about multiple things all the time. I'm fully engaged with who I'm with, and there are 3 or 4 other conversations. I think she called it hypervigilant, right? Danielle called it hypervigilant.
Yeah.
I call it multi-passionate, right? There's just so many things going on. But what's interesting to your question, what's interesting for me is part of it is how we're reared, right? When you're reared by folks who are like, what you doing? Right? Why are you just sitting? This stuff to be done, right? You get those early kind of triggers that say, no, don't sit. You can't just sit. You always got to be doing something. But the other part of that is, for me, there was definite anxiety around this trip, because when I was first going, there was so much other stuff I needed to do, right? Can I really afford to take this time off because I got so much stuff to do? That was one side of my brain. The other side of my brain was like, you really need this space because you need to get out of your house, because you are trying to get clear on some things to get ready for a thing you're doing on October 31st. So you need this space, right? So it's yin yang for me all the time. Plus and minus. So Libra, right? Balance. And yet, when I came home, I got so much peace there. I came home and the environment, there's all kinds of stuff. I need to just sage my whole house, right? There's so much stuff that sits in your spirit when you go back to environments that you're used to being unsettled in. And it can easily come back if you don't pay attention. Now, I can absolutely chill. Absolutely. I can do nothing. And I have to intentionally tell myself I'm going to do that. Because if I don't, then the whole time I'm trying to just relax, I'm like, man, I got all these other things I should be doing. I really should be working on this. If I don't do it now, it's going to be still waiting for me. All that, I have to intentionally say, you know what? My friend Tisa said, you can't outwork the work. It will be there on Monday.
Yeah.
I am intentionally going to take this time this weekend to just rest and relax and give myself permission to chill out. I have to have an intentional conversation to do that. I don't do it by accident.
You've always been like this?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I don't rest by accident. I have to rest intentionally. The only time I rest by accident is when I've not given myself a chance to rest and my body just says, okay, well, you're not listening, so we're done. We're not going to let you get up. We're going to let you sleep. We're going to let you just not have to do anything else. We're going to make you sit down. As they say, if you don't make time for your wellness, your illness will force you to make time for it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an environmental thing for me, from the standpoint of I get really connected to spaces. It's that empath thing, right? I take on a lot of energy. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you can't be taking on, because I got a chill energy. You don't ever take on my energy. I be like, I be chill. I be like, don't come in here with all of that.
Right.
Take on this energy. I got joy. Okay, so let me ask this, because how do you go to Cancun and go by the water, but don't be in the water? What are you doing? What were you doing?
No.
Wow.
It's interesting because I did a lot of reflection of what, for me, a beach vacation, because, I don't do ocean. Like I love looking, I love seeing, I saw the sunrise every morning, right over the water. I love the sound. I love the look. I love the peace. What I don't love is all that sand. I don't necessarily need to get in the water. I don't like being able to not see my feet. That stuff doesn't work for me. I don't want the salt in my eyes, all that madness. But I love have a good book or my journal and to sit on a chair with a nice drink and listen to the ocean and reflect. That's what I love about it. That's a beach vacation for me. I don't need to get in the water. I don't need to parasail. I don't need to do any of that. I'll go to one of those catamarans, right? But so I saw the water. I just didn't get in the water.
Okay.
And we had those, I highly recommend these too, although I didn't get in that either. We had those swim up suites, where you have a pool like right outside of your patio, which was really cool to look at and peaceful to look at, but I didn't get in it.
Why? You just don't like water?
No, I like water, but so again, I reveal way too much on this show, but it is what it is. You get what you get, because I am who I am. I have an issue with public pools. I don't do public pools.
But it was at your suite. It was chlorine in it.
See, for my brain, I get it. But for the rest of me, I'm like, I don't know what's in this water. I don't know what people are doing in this water. No. Now, I did do hydrotherapy at the spa. So I was proud of myself. I dipped in the really cold one, the ice cold one, because my muscles were sore. The ice cold one, then I jumped in the real hot one, because that's what you're supposed to do. And then I just got in the normal one and just sat there for a minute. And then I went and got my massage. Right. So I enjoy water, but I got a little bit of germophobia. So I have to, I have to manage through that.
So that's the issue there. Could that be that the phobias are what prevent you from just
some of it, some of it, and some of it is just comfort or discomfort. I mean, I love a good breeze. I love a good umbrella. But again, we were in Cancun it was an adults only, right? But it was a resort, and I like peace. So that's why I went out early in the morning because wasn't nobody else out. By the time we had our lunch break, especially on that Saturday, we walked out of our little room, and there were so many bodies out there. I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't. Too much noise, too much sound, too much smell, too much. That's not vacation for me. Right? When I am surrounded, because they had beautiful pools, right? Really long, through almost the whole resort was one long attached pool with all of these umbrellas and cabanas and lounges and all this kind of stuff everywhere, and every spot had a body in it. No ma'am. I don't want you to talk to me. I don't want you to look at me. I don't want you to smile at me. I don't know. I need peace and quiet. Now, I'm not going to be nasty. I will have a conversation. You come up to me and have a conversation? Absolutely. I'll smile. I'll say hello, all those kind of things. But I don't need to engage for a long period of time. I don't need to be in the party. That's not me. That's not me. And so it was very peaceful for me to be able to be early in the morning and just chill in the evening, just chill when everybody else is getting out of the sun, trying to get ready for dinner. Those times when there's very little interaction, that's where I get my energy. Remember, I'm an introvert. So I get my energy alone. And then I use it up dealing with other folks. And so we've been in these sessions that were pretty deep sessions. So by the time I came out, I did not have energy to engage. The only energy I had was to absorb and reflect and move into clarity and move into action for the things I needed to do for my calling and my purpose. And to spend that time out in the pool with 400 other folks, even though they were all adults, so there wasn't kids running around, which also made me happy. Wasn't a lot of kids running around. It was all adults. It's still loud and crazy and cranky. It's a lot. It's a lot. So that environment for me was very peaceful in the beginning, and then had bits of noise that were difficult. And then the airport is a madhouse, of course. And when no one wearing masks, I think I was the only one in a mask.
Yeah.
But I'm still, not on the COVID this time. The flu is supposed to be really bad. I'm not trying to get the flu either. So, when things are not feeling like they're supposed to feel, check out your environment. Your environment is not only your physical space, but check out the people that are around you. Who is in your environment? Who are you hanging out with? Who's hanging out with you? Right? If you've got an office space and you've got a big team, what kind of space have you created? Is it bright? Is it dark? Do you ask people to bring their stuff? Or do you have, what do they call it, hoteling now? Where you might be in office A today, but tomorrow you might be in office Z, right? No, there are no assigned spaces anymore. That would make me crazy too, right? Because you can't bring any of your stuff. It's that really weird balance. Like, organizations want people to belong, because that's a big word now. We want people to belong. We want them to feel at home. We want them to feel comfortable in the space. Oh, but we do hoteling, so don't bring any of your stuff with you. Or if you do, you gotta cart it with you everywhere, because you may not be at the same desk tomorrow. How do you build kind of that camaraderie and belonging and ownership when no one has like a space? Maybe you have one drawer that locks for you, or lockers or something like that, in those shared spaces. But how do you build connection if nobody has a space that's their own? It's just a really weird dichotomy for me, right? Of belonging and ownership and all of those kind of things, right? How do people feel connected if they can't really have their own space? And how do you create your own space of peace? Your home really should be peaceful. I think that for me, that's one of the hardest things when I think about, kids that grow up in abusive relationships, or women that are in abusive relationships, or men for that matter, that are in abusive relationships, is your home isn't even peaceful. You can't even, there's not even a place of refuge for you in the place that is supposed to be your place of peace. And that just breaks my heart that people have to live that way. And that there are people that are so evil and nasty that they're creating those spaces for other folks, that where they can't be comfortable in their own homes, in their own environments, in those spaces that are supposed to be the safe spaces. So your environment has a significant impact on your ability to really be aligned with who you are. You've got to create spaces to allow that to happen. And then to be able to get clear on what it is you want, because clarity comes in the silence. Clarity comes in the spaces between all the words, right? And then you have the energy for action. Because even those folks that are really, really extroverted and process out loud, because I do have a tendency to process out loud, need time to then hear their processing and figure out what they're going to do to move into action. Even those folks who are willing to just try anything and fail fast, right? You got to at least do it and then have enough space to see what happened so then you could do something else. Everybody needs some quiet at some point. The amount of quiet varies by individual.
I can create quiet spaces in my own head, though. I can be in a room full of people, and I get quiet. People that know me call me the ghost queen, because I'll be in a room for a certain amount of time, and when I'm tired of being in the room for that certain amount of time, I find a quiet space, because everybody can't take a lot of noise at all times.
Yes.
But even if you're an introvert, you still have to go out in society. My sister just went back to work after being off in retirement for over 4 years when she took off to take care of my mom. And now she's back at work, and she's like, oh my God, and they did this and they said this. I said, hold up. Hold up. Don't come mess with my peace. And she said, I was so peaceful. I said, but honey, you haven't been out in a long time. You've been at home. And so you haven't gotten around other people, and you have to learn how to maneuver around other people, because other people bring other problems, and you still have to kind of bring you into a crowded situation at times. And people going back to work now, I think more people are getting more agitated because we've had that time and space to be to ourselves. So how do you take being to yourself even in a crowded place? And I don't know if it's a coping mechanism. I've learned how to tune people out when I don't want to be bothered. I just don't hear it.
Yes. So
because my peace is important to me.
Yes. Well, what you said is really important, and I think that's why we're seeing so much agitation and people moving so quickly to violence, is that we have had such a long period of time where we haven't been interacting with people on a regular basis. Now all of a sudden you have somebody in your space, and sometimes in your face consistently. That's a lot to take. It's a lot to take. And I'm like you, I am professionally extroverted. I go out because I have to. I go out and engage because I have to. Now, I don't, and you guys, I'm not saying anything that you don't know that have worked with me. I'm not that HR person. I just love people. That's just not true. That's not me. That's not me. I know people, and I have compassion for people, and I have a real love for understanding and compassion and grace. That's what I love. But to say I just love people, that's a lie. So we're not going to say that. But what I also understand is that, especially when you're in corporate environments, showing up and being visible is not about you. It's about everyone else who needs to see you, or who just wants to see you. Those executives who have your career in their hand, right, need to see you. How do you show up? How can you represent them? Those people who are looking to you for guidance need to see you. That new person in their career who wants to be where you are, they're watching you. So showing up is not just about you. And I know that. I know that from the tip of my toes to the top of my head. That's not about me. And because I know it's not about me, my ability to show up is very different. Kind of like Jerry. I can tune folks out in a minute. And I've learned, for me, I have a podcast called, Do You Have to Go to the Party? Because I hate corporate parties. Do you have to go to the party? Yes, you do have to go to the party, because it's not about you, right? But here's what you do. To Jerry's point, you find what works for you. I go to an event and I work the room. I grab my tonic water and my lime, because people don't know whether it's tonic or whether it's gin, right? I grab my tonic water. I tell them to stick a lime in it, because I happen to like tonic water. I work the room. I see people, I talk to people, glad hand, all that kind of stuff. Now it is genuine. I'm not just chit-chatting a chit-chat, but I work the entire room. And when I'm done in about an hour, I'm out. I don't make a big announcement. I don't make a big flurry. Oh my God, I gotta go. I just go. And I have bought myself at least another hour. Why? Because I've worked the room. So when people start saying, where's Laurel? Where's Laurel? Where's Laurel? They're like, oh, I just saw her. I just saw her for at least another 45 minutes. So I may have been at the party for an hour, but I bought myself an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I worked the room in the beginning. But I've learned how to protect my peace and my energy, because the worst thing I can do is know that my face is telling folks I don't want to be there, and have my words and my actions and my tone say I don't want to be there. I know what my limits are. And when I've reached them or I'm getting close to them, I remove myself from the situation so as not to create an environment that is untenable for me or anybody else that comes in contact with me. Right? So to that point, your question earlier, Jerry, we are impacted by our environment, but we also take action based on the environment that we're in. Right? We have agency. Mm-hmm. And so if I respond the way my energy says when I've reached my limit, then I am creating an ugly environment for someone else, because I'm responding in a way that may not be kind, because I'm tired and I'm done. Right? So we have to be aware of how our environment impacts us and what can we do to ensure we stay in this space. I was listening to Joyce Meyer this morning, and again, after coming off this trip and really thinking about the things for this last quarter and getting ready into 2023. And one of the things she talked about was, when are you going to birth this gift that you've been carrying on for 4 years, right? She's like, it's like being pregnant. She said, we get pregnant with all of these gifts. She said, men too, right? We all get pregnant with all these gifts and our purpose and all this kind of stuff. And then we get afraid to just put it out there and to let it go. When are you going to give birth to those gifts you've been holding on to? Because you are not doing yourself or all those people who need you any favors by holding on to that gift. You've got it so that you can share it. That's the point. And so when you come home, and that all of this has come together for me, right? So when you come home and there's something in your environment that just kind of dampens your spirit, that keeps you out of that kind of excited energy that you had, and yet you are aware enough of yourself. Remember, alignment is about awareness, man. You are aware enough of yourself to say, oh, something's not right. This is not where I want to be. This is not how I want to feel. But I know me, and I know what these things are. What can I do to then change it, right? What can I do to move in action to do something different? That's where the power is. Because the downtimes are going to happen. The upset is going to happen. The sadness is going to happen. The depression, the anxiety, those things happen because we live in that kind of crazy world right now. Those things are going to happen. You get to choose what you do with that. You get to choose about changing your environment. And I'm not saying you just burn your house down and get another one. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying sometimes a change of your environment is just going outside. Sometimes a change in your environment is, you know what, I'm not going to work from my home office today. I'm going to go work at, the neighborhood coffee shop. Or today, I'm taking this first half of the day and I'm just going to get outside and put my hands in the dirt. I need to reconnect. I need to get regrounded. And then I'll get started on the other stuff. Intentional in our actions to keep us in a space that is forward moving, compassionate, graceful, and grateful. But when you start to feel funky, go back and look at your environment, because sometimes there's an environmental impact. Good morning, Mama. There's an environmental impact that is hurting you or giving you certain sorts of feelings or something that you're not even aware of. You don't think about it being in your house, right? I mean, I'm telling y'all, I felt and still feel so much freer and open when I just take stuff out of my house. I mean, I put it in bins and I'm like, okay, do I take this to Dress for Success? Do I take this to, and finally I said, you know what? We're just going to put it in the bin. We're going to donate to Goodwill. I'm not taking any more energy to figure out where to put it, because see, now I'm making myself crazy and I'll be sitting here 3 months from now because I didn't have time to get to Dress for Success on the few days that they're open. Stop it. Out of the house is the point. And wherever you put it, we are going to say a prayer over it and believe that you are going to bless someone who needs it by getting it out of your house, because you're not using it. But it's easy to sit and look at all the crap that you've accumulated and be weighed down by it. So what are you going to do to fix your environment, or to clean it up, or to at least open it up so you can breathe? So you can breathe, because someone needs you today. Someone needs your genius today. Someone needs your message. Someone needs that word you can give to them, that smile you can give to them, that advice you can give to them. Someone needs you to show up today. And if your environment is such that it is weighing you down and putting you in a place where you cannot engage, where you just want to go to bed, sometimes we got to do that. Sometimes we just need to take a nap and just start all over tomorrow. That's okay. I'm not passing judgment. Every once in a while, we just need to do that. But don't forget to get up. Don't forget to get up. Don't allow that one afternoon of solitude and nap to turn into 3 months. If it's really getting that way, call somebody. Ask for help. 988, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Call 988. Phone a friend. If you find yourself not able to get out of bed, if you find yourself in an environment where you're just weighed down, you cannot seem to move, call somebody who can help you lift yourself up. You owe it to yourself. And if you don't believe enough in yourself, you owe it to those people who are relying on you. Whatever trigger you need to get moving, use that. And clean your space. Clean your space. I'm telling you, it does wonders to just see open space. I've still got a bunch of bins and closets that I'm getting ready to go through. Now, they're all nice, stackable, the Rubbermaid bins, because I had to do that. I can't do boxes. Those cardboard boxes I make my nerves bad. But then you find the nice little stackable boxes. Those get crazy too. I'll be going through all of those this winter. If it's not something that is important and being used, it is going out of my space, because I need to let it go to make room for the things that are meant for me. We've talked about that. When you're holding on so tight to mess, you don't make room for the stuff that's meant for you. And your mess is somebody else's blessing. Let it go. Let it go. What do they say? My trash is somebody else's treasure. Mm-hmm. Let that stuff go that's weighing you down. Let it go. It could bless someone else. It could put someone else where they need to be. And it's not doing you any good. And it's definitely not serving anybody else for you to hold on to it. Birth that baby, honey. Let it go. Put the gifts out there in the world and see what comes back to you that you can then use and turn back around. But your environment has an impact on that. All right. We're going to do some shout outs and stuff to you. And I did finally put up my shout out post. There's some changes coming to laurelrutledge.com and all things Laurel Rutledge for 2023, here towards the end of the year and for 2023. So as Jerry's pulling up the stuff for our shout outs, we are 3 weeks away from voting. So those of you who don't like talking about voting, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you stick around, because we got to talk about voting. We're exactly 3 weeks away. 3 weeks from today is election day. November 8th is election day. Early voting has already started in a lot of states. Here in Texas, it starts on the 24th. It's the 24th through the 4th is early voting. Go to whenweallvote.org and you can find out what the early voting rules are in your state. Go to vote.gov, G-O-V, and you can find the same thing. In some states, it's only in-person early voting. In some states, it's only all mail-in. Everything is mail-in. And then in some states, you get a little bit of both. You need to know the rules. So number one, go check your voter registration. And I am believing that everyone wanted to vote, and that everyone who wanted to vote got registered, and that your registration is there and valid. Go check your voter registration. Make sure that they haven't somehow purged you from the polls. And even if they have, still go show up on election day and ask for a provisional ballot. They must provide you with a provisional ballot. Go ask for one. Don't just not show up and say, oh, well, they messed up my registration. No, no, no. Hold them accountable and go get your provisional ballot so you can actually cast your vote anyway, right? On your provisional ballot. Yes, that is legal. No, that is not cheating. No, that is not fraudulent. A provisional ballot is your right to have if there's something that seems off kilter around your voter registration, okay? 2, if you are in line when the polls close, they must allow you to vote. If you are in line when the polls close, they must allow you to vote. Go get in line. I don't care if you got 5 minutes and you see that line is wrapped around the block. Go put your butt in line. If you are in line before the polls close, they must allow you to vote. Don't miss out because you think you're too late. Okay? You're not too late until the clock strikes the end of the polling time, right? Go get in line. The third thing is, or the fourth thing, go educate yourself on who's on the ballot and what the issues are. Educate yourself on both of those things. The commercials are getting out of control right now. Don't believe all that mess. People are doing it because they really want your vote. Go educate yourself on what they've really said. Not what they said for TV, but what they've really said and what they've said behind the scenes. There's a big brouhaha happening in California where some of the political leaders right now who happen to be Hispanic have been caught on tape talking about how to redistrict to minimize, if not cut out, the black vote. It's a hot mess in California right now. Everywhere it's a hot mess. Go pay attention to what people have said, where they're on record. Go see what they've said at city council meetings, right? And vote the entire ballot. In Texas, you can no longer do a party line vote, right? You can't do that anymore. You have to vote for each office. Go find out who the people are, find out who's running, find out who represents you in the way you want to be represented, and cast your vote, right? It is really important. We're 3 weeks away, y'all. We're 3 weeks away. It's really scary. It's really, I am quite nervous and trying to just stay prayed up. That's all I can do. Trying to stay prayed up. It is, it's going to get nastier. And I also want you guys, and not to be an alarmist at all. This is about being smart. Be smart when you go to these polls. Be smart. Know what the rules are. Know how to protect yourself. Go get the rules on when we all vote. Go get the ballot on Ballotpedia. Know what your rights are as a registered voter. And if you are in one of these lovely, like us, no longer have to be concealed carry places, just be cautious. Be mindful of everything that's going around you. Don't be walking around with both your earbuds in on noise cancellation and looking at your phone. Pay attention. It is also getting dark earlier. Women, if you're out there by yourself voting, pay attention. Take a buddy. This is not the time to not be cautious. All right? Okay.
Nora Hudson also said, I'm working on early voting.
Yay, good, Nora. Take some votes with you.
You got Venezuela in the house,
Yay.
Panama, Mexico, Brazil, France, Romania,
Yay.
Germany, Finland, United Kingdom, The Hague.
Oh, The Hague.
Yeah,
I love that.
the Panama City, Bucharest,
Mm-hmm.
Helsinki, London, New York, Port Arthur, Beaumont, Wilmington, Chicago, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta, Kansas City, and Houston, and Missouri City.
I love it. I love it. And I know I've got Odessa on as well here, and probably California and Ohio as well. So y'all, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I truly appreciate it. Romania, I'm so happy to have you here. Everybody, I'm so happy to have you. Romania is a new listener. They came in last week, as did Venezuela. So thank you guys for tuning in again this week. That's awesome. The Hague, I don't think we've ever had The Hague on before.
Yeah, we had one.
Did we? Have we had The Hague? Oh, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it.
Nora says, write down on a piece of paper people you want to vote for because you can't use your phone.
Yes, yeah, that's really important. You won't be able to use your phone in there, so write it down or go to ballotpedia.org, kind of like Wikipedia, except it's ballotpedia.org, and they have the sample ballots. So go and you can print out a sample ballot. You can take that in, unless they change those rules again too. You can take that in, kind of mark who you want. In Harris County, on KPRC tonight, they're going to be talking about the voting machines. They're doing a big thing on the voting machine, so you know how they work and everything is happening to make sure we're protecting the election so that nobody can claim that we are exhibiting fraud again, or executing the voter fraud. And y'all, as you're voting, pay attention. The people who are elected to these county offices are the ones that get to determine and certify the elections. Are the people that you're electing the ones that are continuing to support the big lie that the election was stolen? You need to know who you're putting in office, y'all, okay? So pay attention. Please pay attention. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking is please pay attention and know who you're voting for and what their stances are. Okay. Thank you so much, Nora, for that information. Y'all go get educated. Go show up at the polls. We got 3 weeks. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week. I will be here same time, same bat channel. Have a good one. Bye, y'all.